All right, we are going to go ahead and get started in our room since we're going to have to wrap up a few minutes early before we get inundated by the people that are in the other sessions. And I have a few slides, so I will go ahead and share my screen. So just to provide a little background on this topic, this is actually an example of at the end when we ask you to do the survey, why it's so important to offer topics that you'd like to see or let us know after the program. If there's a topic that you're interested in and would like to know what other people are doing, this is a question that it just so happened that I got asked a lot over a span of a few weeks, that they asked if I had any suggestions for fair management programs or software systems that they could use. And in my current role, I'm not responsible for a county fair. And so I didn't have any good suggestions for them. I could just base it on previous knowledge I had because previously I was a 4-H extension agent. And so I had some knowledge of the programs and processes that we use, but the ones that were out there, the other Kansans were using, I just had to reach out or send them to other counties in surrounding areas and have them get that information. So we actually ended up doing a survey in 2021 and just asked people to share what kind of software system do you use and how has it worked for you? If you don't use a software system, what do you do as a way of managing your fair? Because when you have so many projects and I know specifically tonight we're talking about livestock, but there's lots of classes in the indoor exhibits as well. When you have all of that data, all of those entries, how do you manage that information and make things go as smoothly as possible? And so I sent out a survey. We had about 60 responses, and those would be by local extension agents, but it is a healthy mix. They are both from counties and districts. So we covered about everyone in the state that responded. And we basically asked them, do you use a fair or show management software program? Which, as you can see, 85% of them said that yes, they did. The ones that didn't, you'll see below, they either used Excel is what they use, or they just did it with handwritten notes. They said they used a fair book and a piece of paper, and that's how they have continued to keep records. And so there are about 15% that aren't using anything. And then we ask, which program do you use? And from that, we got that about 82% of people were using Fair Entry is what they were using, and that's already been referenced a couple of times tonight. We had about 8% or a handful of counties that are using ShowWorks. And then we had about 6% that were using BlueStem. And there were a couple that said they were using Blue Ribbon. And we actually don't have a speaker that's representing that tonight, just because there were a few that when I went to ask them if they'd be willing to speak tonight, they said, either they weren't able to attend, or a few of them said, I was mistaken. We actually use BlueStem, not Blue Ribbon. So they had the blue part right, but not all of it. And so, and the others who did use it said that they were transferring away. Either they're going to Fair Entry or they are currently looking what their other options are, but they will no longer be using it. And so tonight we're going to focus on the top 3, which would be Fair Entry, ShowWorks, and BlueStem. And all have their positive and negatives, as you will see. And so again, it just depends on what your budget is. That's probably going to play a role into the option you choose, and then what you're looking for data management for your fair. And so we're actually going to start, since it was the most popular one, we're going to start with Fair Entry. And Will Morris, who is also from the Wildcat District, and he is housed in Crawford County, is going to talk about his experience with Fair Entry. We're just going to have each speaker share a couple of minutes, and then at the end, you can pelt them with questions that you have about their program and how you think it works.
Hello, yes. So I'll just kind of dive right in since she introduced me. So this will be my 4th year using Fair Entry system. Before we used Fair Entry, we were doing everything by like pen and paper and an Excel spreadsheet. So I am probably one of the biggest cheerleaders for fair entry system. I've loved it and will throw a child's fit if we ever get away from it, because it has just made everything so much easier and more efficient. So a few things I'll cover. With fair entry, it is internet based. So what that means is that it can be accessed from any computer, phone, wherever you're at, it can be accessed. So some other systems are software based, which means that you have a CD or a flash drive, something like that. So one of the great things about fair entry is that it's internet based. Now, that can also be a con for fair entry, is because some fairgrounds, they do not have internet access. So that can be a challenge as well. One of the great things about the fair entry system is that it is set up so that it can have multiple users. So myself, other extension agents in my office, we each have our own login profile, things like that. And then we can also give volunteer and fair board members access. So the system, if we want to give our fair board treasurer access to the sale features within fair entry, then we can grant them entire access to that. If we wanted to give our rabbit superintendent access to all the rabbit information, we can give them access to that as well. Entering results is super quick and easy. If you ever have self-checked out at Walmart, then you can handle entering results because it's the same type of scanner as it is at Walmart. You just order them online from Amazon. They're like 20 bucks. My county has 2 of them. Entering results takes about 10 minutes per area and we're done. And it's kind of fun to beat them in. Within fair entry, you're able to create all sorts of custom reports. Now they do have standard reports that you can use. So there are a lot of different options with that as well. With the fair entry system, one of the great things about it is that once you create a report in there, it keeps and stays in there from year to year. So after my first year using the system, I sat down with all of my superintendents and volunteers one-on-one. I said, okay, what do you need? How do you want things to look? And we created reports so that way they had things just how they wanted them. Now, with any change to a new system or starting with a system, the biggest challenge is reminding, especially some of our volunteers who have been around for years and years and years, that things may look a little different utilizing a system, but all of the information is still there. I have not come across the situation yet where a volunteer said, hey, I need this information to show up on this report or this class list or something like that, and we have not been able to make that work. So it's just something to keep in mind. It does have the sale feature, as I mentioned. When you're creating the sale, there are lots of different configurations because there's 105 counties in Kansas, and we all do things different, as it's been mentioned. So you can get your configuration as close to how you actually do it as possible with some of the features. Some, it may be the way your sale order is the way they have a feature in there ready to go for you. Mine's not the case, but one of the great things about it is that I can get it really close to how our order is, and then I just drag and drop the different fields to where they need to be. So that's a great thing about it. One of the really cool things is that the system actually will print the checks for that. So somebody mentioned earlier, handwriting checks, that's a thing of the past here for our fair because the system will do it for you. It'll actually print reports as well for youth so they can see exactly the breakdown of all of their money that they acquired from the fair, whether it's sell money, or ribbon money, things like that. It prints it all there. One of the other great features of fair entry is that they do have 24/7 support. So you can call them anytime. They have 3 numbers. Sometimes, they may be limited. It's busy season, something like that, but they do call you back. So that is a great thing. They have an entire web page with support resources as well. So if you can't find something or can't get a hold of the after hours line, then you can call them. with fair entry, if say after today you're wanting to set up a time to meet with them, they will actually meet with you and your volunteers, Fair Board, other agents, and do a walkthrough with you as well. So it's a great service, and they're super friendly. So we'll talk about real quick a few features. So with the system, you can create your own link. So my link to my fair page is Crawford County, Kansas at fairentry.com, and it'll take you to this page right here. So this is what it looks like. It says when the things open and close, when registration will be. I can customize this message to families if I to anything that we would like for them to know. And then also this right here is a link to the fair book. So if families are signing up online, then you can click on that link. It'll open in a new tab so they can have both things open at the same time. One of the great things about Fair Entry is that it's connected with 4-H Online. So that means that families, they only have to remember one email and password, and they can log in through there. Not in this picture is what's called a Fair Entry account. So if your fair is like mine, where they have FFA exhibitors, then they would create a Fair Entry account. One of the cons with this is some families have a mixture of 4-H kids and FFA kids, and you just can't use the same email and password for a Fair Entry account as you do for 4-H Online. Then down here at the bottom, you'll see this long skinny picture. This is what the dashboard looks like for those who have what we call organizational administrative access, which would be your 4-H agent and whoever else is the top level within your fair. So this is the access for those couple of people, and then it kind of goes down from there. So you can see there's lots of different settings and things like that. It's very easy to navigate. Things are pretty easy to get through. You know, one of my fears was, you know, what if I accidentally click the wrong button or delete something? The system is great about saying, hey, are you sure you want to do this before you actually do? That kind of thing. So, and it is, you can sync with the Kansas State Fair as well, because they use Fair Entry. So that is a great feature as well. Next slide, please. So this is the pricing guide. So it kind of depends on, you know, how big your fair is, things like that. As Cherry mentioned, you know, this is something that our board pays for because, to be honest, the amount of time it took to prepare for fair has been cut probably in half, probably more than that, with utilizing this system. It has made things so much smoother, simpler, easier on the volunteers. So it has just been great. Your fair kind of depends on your size, on what you do. I have just over 200 kids in my 4-H program, and so we average right around 1,800 to 1,900 entries at the county fair. So we are able to use that starter pack. We don't have the regular. And so kind of however big your fair is kind of what you would go off of. And you can talk with Fair Entry staff as well and kind of tell them, usually that first year, they're pretty great to work with you as you figure out kind of where you're at. Cherry mentioned that she has open class, so do I. However, we only use Fair Entry for our 4-H/FFA exhibitors. We do not use it for our open class. So were you doing questions now, Lexi, or later?
Let's wait until the end. Let's have everyone present and they can see what their options are and then ask questions. Thank you, Will. And so next we have Richard Fechter from the Rolling Prairie District, and we're gonna have him talk about the BlueStem software.
Yes, thank you, Lexi. BlueStem Fair Management System, I've been using probably 10 years or more. Decided to go to that as I was using an Excel program that I had designed. And basically, I learned that FMS was doing basically the same things I was doing with my Excel program. They were just doing it a lot more efficiently, and I wasn't having to make as many entries or manually input as much by using the FMS system. The latest version, version 21, was just released. You can see there on the left-hand side. If you haven't used this system before, or you have an older, much older version than that, the new cost is around $600. And each year you can buy an update, or the years that it's updated for $100 a year. And then there may be a $25 to $100 additional charge to convert your data files. And you can see there the contact for more information about the program is Stan Chilcott, and that's his cell number. He's based around Leon. But the things I like about it is I've used it long enough where if something doesn't quite work, it's an access database system that I know enough, just enough to be a little bit dangerous. I can go in behind the scenes and kind of fix some things that I want fixed, or some entries that end up in the wrong spot. Like I say, I know just enough to be able to do that. But Stan is very good about, I called him at 11 o'clock at night after weigh-in because something wasn't working right and I wasn't able to fix it. And I just sent him my data files, emailed them to me, and he emailed them back and fixed the problem, and called him at midnight, things like that. And he's very great to work with on those types of things. As far as I use it for both indoor exhibits and livestock. And as far as livestock, you can use it from spring weigh-in all the way through to help make your sale bill and run your sale and print out any kind of report, print out checks from there after you download them, or move them into Quicken if you use Quicken. You can use any or all of those features depending on your county. And one of the reasons we went to FMS is because we have a smaller fair than a lot of these counties. We probably average 700 to 800 entries per year, or pre-entries. That isn't actually what shows up, but the main thing was, kind of like with any software program, there's a learning curve, and you need to take the time to set things up initially how you want to, such as your fair classes, get all that inputted, and then you have it. All that's saved for the next year. You just update your data files. One of the advantages of the new version 21 that's coming out is it directly interfaces with our 4-H online enrollment system, whereas in years past, it was set up originally to work with the Blue Ribbon software, which some of you agents may remember. And so when we went to 4-H online a few years ago, you could still download the members' data, age, and all that information and their projects that they're enrolled in. You just needed to do some manual manipulation to make sure that it ended up in the right column and things like that. But once you're able to do that, it worked just like it was supposed to. So I'll just leave it at that, Lexi.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Richard. And our final presenter tonight is going to be about ShowWorks, and it is going to be Becky Reed, who is from Cowley County.
Hi, welcome this evening. So ShowWorks has a lot of, well, okay, so it's developed in Texas, and you know everything that comes out of Texas, they're proud of what they're doing. So you can visit fairsoftware.com to see kind of all their latest and greatest features. We've been using this since about 2017, and here's a couple of the price options. There's more as well. I just listed these. So if you had one computer up to 2,000 entries, we're talking about $19.95. That's thousands, and then an annual renewal cost. So yes, it is pricier to kind of get into this one as well. Our favorite online or features are the online entries, and similar to the latest version is ShowWorks 2020. Lots of extra bells and whistles that we'll need to learn, like, hey, is this something that we want to utilize as well? Similar, it's a software that's on a computer, as you can see where that is priced above, and it is an access-based Microsoft type of product. So what that means is you can utilize any of their preset reports or get a customized report, but you can also export something in an Excel file and then manipulate it however you want to with like a mail merge or something like that. It has an option for iPad, so you can then, what we do at our fair is we have an iPad that is at beef weigh-in, and at the same time there's an iPad over here at swine weigh-in. And so then we can enter the weights, tag numbers right there at the time, just to clarify, get all that information in, and we take the iPad back to that main management computer and you sync those sheets. So it's really great to just do all of that very quickly. Customized reports, and it does have a memory of reports from year to year as well. Now, the other presenters have mentioned, hey, it gets information from the 4-H online. So ShowWorks doesn't do that, but as members pre-register for the fair, then they enter that basic data, and like we just send those links, the website link to do online entries to those members so they can get that. Again, they have great customer service similar to the others. Features that are also available that are included in the package, but we haven't used yet, let's just say that, RFID scanning, so that and okay, I'm not an ag agent or a 4-H agent, I'm the fax person. You can take your EID reader and it would communicate with your iPad and get all that info in. QR codes, so like here's an example of a entry tag that would be presented, and you could scan that entry tag with your iPad and then enter the results. That's an awesome thing. There is also the auction management, and with that it does things like write bills to your buyers. It can do class breaks for your live, when we use that for livestock shows and the classes, things along that line. Just for comparison, just so you know, like what we're working with, we range about 250 4-Hers, exhibitors, and it would be something where you can have both 4-H and FFA and even open class manage it through a single system. So that's something that we would do. And about last year we had about 1,900 entries. Again, pre-entries versus actual show up or different things. And with market animals, we had about 162 animals last year. So we had our fair board purchase it. They also pay that annual renewal cost as well. And I put a couple tips here of just being aware of minimum requirements for your computer, and then just being strategic for setup with your online entries as well. And understanding with any of these, if you have good data in, you can get good data out. Okay, back to you, Lexi, and we're welcome. I'm ready for questions.
Awesome. And thank all you guys for joining us and sharing that information this evening about the different options. And so what questions do we have? And you can go ahead, we're a small enough group, feel free to just unmute yourself and blurt out your question that you have for any of our speakers.
Lexi,
go for it, Sandra.
Okay. Okay. We have 5 counties, okay? So I did notice on some of the billing part that it said 1 computer is this cost, 4 computers this cost, 5 computers this cost. So I'm assuming that means, you know, that one, I think it was the first one. I think it was fair entry. It said something about five computers. So I'm assuming each of the counties would then have a system. Is that what that means?
So fair entry is internet based, which means all you need is a computer with internet access and you can access it. There is no limit on computers. So that means so one of the great, since it's internet based, means if my computer crashes, I don't lose the whole system during fair. Like I can get another computer, go use somebody else's whatever, and I can still use it. You know, I have access, my fax agent, my ag agent, our office professional, some fair board, you know, there's lots of people with access to things. It just varies on their access. But if you've got good internet, that's what I love about it, is I don't have to worry mid-fair that my computer could crash at weigh-in or something and I'd be out of luck.
Okay. So another question, I mean, I don't want to, use all the question time, but I have one more question for you. Well, you said you don't do open class on here. Could you though?
You could. So Cherry
Okay.
does do open class, and
Okay.
so her 4-H numbers are lower, and so she's able to get in under that entry maximum for the cheapest subscription, which we have. When we got Fair Entry, we opted not to. Some of our people that do open class probably wouldn't be too fond of us doing online, and our superintendents just handle it, and so that's why we don't do it here in our county, is because they like doing it their way. So, and since our extension board pays for it, then it kind of makes that easy. So.
I'm sorry, I have one more question before I pass it to somebody else. Okay, what if you started out with the starter one and suddenly 2 years later, you notice that you needed to bump up to the other one? Do you have to pay the full $750 for the next system?
So that payment is an annual thing. So we pay $500 every year.
Oh, every year. Okay.
Yes. Yep. So there's no startup price or like renewal price. It's just, that's your payment every year. So if you start after your first year and you're like, man, we have more than 2,000 entries, then we need to up it to the 750. You can do that. So it's just an annual thing.
Alrighty. Thanks.
And Will, before you hop off, I'm just going to ask you to clarify, because I know it's something you mentioned when you were discussing both 4-Hers and FFAers being able to use it. And that's if a county chose to use Fair Entry for their open class or had it as an option. If you wanted to enter online, you could, or you could bring your item and your handwritten card. If you prefer that. Does that mean that, let's say it's a mom who has 3 kids in 4-H that wants to enter something in the open class, is she going to need to create an account with a different email for her to do her own stuff with open class?
If you have Fair Entry set up for open class, then what it will do is it will create, so when a parent logs in through 4-H online, if they have multiple kids, each of those kids are going to be an option within the 4-H online access point. And then if you create a Fair Entry account, the mom will just create a profile for herself. If she's got little kids that aren't in 4-H yet that are doing open class, that'll all be under there. So it should, to my knowledge, allow you to enter multiple within that Fair Entry account, is what they call it. Everything will look the same for the most part. It'll just be what they're able to enter and what they're not.
Okay, thanks, Will. Becky, do you want to talk about the different levels and the number of computers you can use? Because I do know your slide talked about the number of computers and the difference in pricing. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and the options that come with which package you get?
Yes, sure. And so with, we basically have everything on one computer, but we have the authorization to do up to 4. And actually the benefit of that is that we then have one that's being used by our Fair Board, and they're starting to think about that for their open class exhibits, and that they could run that through their reports and things like that. So could you do it? Definitely with one computer. And can you parcel data into different things? Yes, we don't use it that way. And I was actually going to pull up, or actually, if you wanted to go to that website, fairsoftware.com, Lexi, or if you want me to share my screen, and then I could show that. But that is, yes, an option, if people needed to have multiple computers and make that work. I guess, does that answer your questions of stuff? But if a fair, like in Sandra's 5 fairs, if they weren't on top of each other, then it could be like they could use the same system just multiple times as well. There might be a little difference. So when we activate to take on, so when we started, we didn't take online entries. We did it a different way. And so the online, there's actually a fee for that, but because it creates like a little temporary website where your families would enroll for their pre-register, and it's like 20 cents per entry, but then you get a credit from your service plan. So if it's a $200 activation fee, but then it's 20 cents per entry, they also want to do like 1% of any fees. That would be entry fees, gate passes, anything you could sell online, which we don't do that at our small fair. But then you get full credit for your service plan. So basically what that means is I might have to, if I've paid that $450, then I might have like a $60 charge at the end because based on the number of entries. And what that means is historically in our county, for instance, we had in, let's say, photography. Kids could take 4 photos, black and white or color, but they could be any combo. So we had kids that would do, oh, I want to do, I'll pre-enter 4 black and white and 4 color, knowing that I'm only going to bring just 4 photos. Well, that's 8 photos times 20 cents. That's like almost $2 worth of charges. And so now we trick the system to say, with photography, they can enter one time and they can bring up to 4 photos, whether it's black and white or color. And then we do some manipulation on the other end. So now we've turned 8 potential pre-entries into 1, which saves us money in the long run as well.
Right.
So under on this website where you're at, if you would go to under popular links in the left-hand side, under prices, that would show a go down.
Yep.
In the middle section.
And Becky, this is all great information, but
yes,
we are at
go.
our time limit, so we're going to have to shut it down, but we will get here in 2. If you have questions after the program is over, I will share contact information, as long as that's okay with these individuals, on how you can reach out to them if you have specific questions for your fair. But we better go ahead and close our rooms and bring it back so you all can pick a new topic to go to.